Right. Now, so with the welcome, so I will move forward with this particular course where it's about development economics. Now, so far we had a sequence of different economics subjects within our specialization area, right? So if you could remember, so initially, of course, we all had in common about this micro macro. Basically, we say in business economics where we have more micro focus with some macro part. And then we had courses like, I will say, mostly we had this applied industrial economics when it's called economic stream. So anyhow, I met you with some other courses during second year as well. And then we had this managerial economics, and then we had econometrics, basic econometrics, and now we are into final course throughout this stream, which is development economics. And now today it's about introduction, where I will try my best to introduce you what means or what is the shape of development economics. So then in that sense, I will cover the nature and scope of this course. Okay. Now, so when it comes to this course, first I thought of let you to engage with the initial steps of this session with some warm-up questions. And even we have a warm-up picture here also. So I don't know how you will feel about this picture. So first, before questions, I would prefer to get your ideas about this picture. Do you have any idea? What do you think? So can you see the picture well?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. So what do you think about this? Any ideas?
So my perception is how the economy evolved from the undeveloped to developing countries, and to finally how it will be like developed countries.
Okay.
And evolution of the development has been given, I think.
So then it's like, so now we can see now when it's count evolution. So in the backhand, what we can see is some skeletons which we will try to say us evolution of mankind, isn't it? So we know we had this picture in different versions everywhere. And then, but here we have something adapt this particular series of picture where we have, yeah, as you said, we have some snapshot from different maybe towns, for example, we'll say, or different urban or whatever areas. And so we can see there's a sequence on these pictures as well. So these pictures even try to show that there's evolution, there's kind of improvement, as you said, or development. Okay. So then how we say that an evolution there according to these pictures? So what motivate you to say that? So Mithusan or even others can say it. So what motivates you to say that there we can see a evolution or development of this particular cities or whatever the things we can see.
So I think, sir, from the skeleton also we can see how they, I think, as a human evolved. The skeleton also, the final one is they properly stand. And the pictures also we can see that how the infrastructure looks like, and ultimately the development of the, I mean, building and all seems like it's a kind of a developed country. But based on that perception, we cannot say it's a developed country.
Okay.
But based on this two idea, I would say, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So what about others? So what do you think about this? So now, what's your idea? So do you have more things to add, or do you have the same perception on it? Others even can join with the discussion. Right. So now, so we had good discussion here up to now, and now the thing is, okay. So now, if that is only things, is that only things about development? Right. So here we can see as humans, and even the evolution of human being, the mankind, and also we can see the evolution of infrastructure, as you said, correct. And is that development? What do you think?
Sir, I think I just go through some of the, I mean, a little bit. Based on the one single point, we cannot say that it consists of everything from the human and their well-being, social aspects, and poverty. Each and every individual we have to consider. Everything's matter. Based on one thing, we cannot say it's a developed country.
Okay, right. So then it seems like, so when it comes to this so-called development, we have a lot of things to worry about or think of, isn't it? Or to study of, as you said. And even others can join, feel free now, because now you all most of you may in industry, and most of you may now, at your final stage. So please join with this discussion now, make it more, professional while having these chats and all, where you can prepare yourself to the society and even to industry, because we need to speak once we go to the industry, isn't it? Now you may start to experience, you may learn these things, you may identify these things sooner. And so first question then, as I asked you, what is development, right? So now, anyhow, today we are going to discuss potential answer for this. Now, so far, even we had some answers, even Mithusan said his view is really good. And then the next question, which I would always wonder to ask is this. So then, what is the difference between economic growth and development? Because now, so far, from the things we learned, you may have some idea about economic growth, isn't it? So you learned about economic growth in different perspectives. And then now, is that means development? So now, according to what Mithusan even said earlier, it seems like, no, we have more things to think of, right? So then how we then clearly show this difference, or how we could distinguish between economic growth and development? So that is another fundamental question that I need to ask from you at the beginning, at the very beginning of this session. And then another question, this is a bit tricky, but even a good question. We say, now, what does it mean for a country to be developing? Right. Okay. So then now, so what about Sri Lanka? Are we a developing country, or are we developed, or are we? What do you think about Sri Lanka? So you can say you are. So maybe I am asking a silly question. Maybe you think in that way, but you can say your idea of that.
Many said it's a developing country, but it's a developing country.
Do you have a question about that? To say that we are a developing country?
No, sir. Based on the per capita income and all, and the infrastructure that we have, we would say.
Okay, then you think that we are developing anyhow, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so in general, yes, we say Sri Lanka, even South Asian countries in general, we say they are developing countries, even China, right? So still, China also developing country, right? So then now the thing is, so then what means exactly this developing for these countries? Now for China, what means developing for this? For India, what means developing? Now here for Sri Lanka, what means developing? Now we cannot put them all into a particular package, or into a particular model where we have a lot of differences, lot of dynamics when you go to different countries, then it's like so we should go for thorough focus analysis for different countries when we try to interpret or when we try to understand what means developing for the particular country. So then now when it comes to Sri Lankan context, or we'll say in general Sri Lankan model of development, so we should have a specific focus for that also. So we cannot just say the Chinese development may exactly work with Sri Lankan development. No, we will not say that, right? But we can learn things. So that is one part of this particular series of lectures. I think we can learn things from other experiences, other stories, and other problems and other situations, and then we have to use these things, whatever we are going to learn via reading, via watching videos, via having discussions in this lecture series, and then we need to add them with Sri Lankan values to our own development process. That is what we need seriously at this moment, especially as we are in a serious economic downturn, the most dangerous economic crisis we ever had, we are ever having still, right? Okay, so then I believe that this is a very important subject that will motivate us to discuss a lot of important facts referring to recurring problem we are having. So feel free to say your ideas. This is really important, right? So we had some discussions with our previous course, Applied Industrial Economics, referring to Sri Lankan context, if you could remember. And then now here, this is the best venture, the best place for us to discuss a lot about the problem and even how we could find answers and what we could do and so on for Sri Lanka, right? So yeah, then now first I will go with our course objectives. So I just thought of throwing you this course objectives in this particular way. So now you can download Edlearn form from the Moodle. So even the materials available in the Moodle, you can freely go there and you can download even the lecture material. Now you can download it as well. So even you can keep it while we are discussing here. So that I will maintain for this particular sessions, because this is very important, because this is not just going through lecture material. Rather, this is very important subject where we need more discourse, right? We need more reading, kind of. So I will put lecture material usually before the session. So even today I put before the session. You can have it and you can go parallel with the session, right? And so when it's called objectives, as you could see, now basically here even we need to make you familiar with the knowledge on fundamental concepts, debates, theories, and so on, etc., and even approaches to development. So because this is the first course you are having for development, so then first we should, yes, of course, identify fundamentals. And then even to encourage and to promote understanding of complex matters, we'll say complex processes that could shape and also will be shaped by development, and even so we could study different social structural changes, effects, and how these things will apply in world and affect world dynamics and development in altogether. Likewise, so we have a variety to deal with, and also the critical evaluation is very important. So then you need to critically evaluate things. So especially current research outputs. So in this particular lecture series, even now you could go to the Moodle, you can find a lot of materials. Just so far you have a lot of materials to go for. Even I will upload a lot of research articles later referring to different lessons, because it's really important for us now at this level to critically evaluate the things, the recurrent research output findings, even readings, and even the books, academic books which made out of research outcomes. So that is what also we are going to do throughout this course content as well. So I will go soon to that, and then you can see that. So we have to do this critical analysis on the things or the outputs or findings in the field of development, and even so we'll even think of not only theories, even policies and practices. So that's what we are trying to looking forward for. Now, here even it's really important now since you are in your industrial training. So you can come up with your own experiences, right? So for example, now, Mithusan in central bank. So you can come up with your observations. Since you are in that place, you can share a lot with others. So likewise, yes.
Sir, today also I went to Library of Central Bank and I referred some of the book. I will definitely come up with the question.
Of course, that's great. That's great. So that is what. So we can have very good discourse, even others now. So wherever organization you are in, so you may study the society with there. You may study the general public. You may study people, employees, managers, everyone. So then you can come up with observations. So for that purpose, even so, this is not going to be voluntary matter because even in my assignment mechanism for this course, you have to do it. So I will show it soon. Before that, I will go to the course content. So now, as you see here. So this is our lecture plan, or simply the course content. And here we got these 15 topics. And first today's one, and then we have to discuss about some fundamental key theoretical aspects. Even I'm not going to just repeat these theories, rather I'm going to do some, discourse type of sessions to introduce and to discuss about these theories. That's why the second topic says the dependency and world system theory is still relevant because we are not just learning on about it, even we are questioning the theories as well. Okay. And then the third and fourth is about again some theoretical aspects, productivity growth, convergence and welfare. So where we have two sessions for that particular aspect, while concerning classical theories, that's what we call classical thesis, and also new classical theories, And then the fifth one is about behavioral development economics, which is a recent trend when it's called development economics. So then in that particular session, we'll discuss all about behavioral development economics and how that will that creating serious impact on policy making patterns in a serious drift, in a serious shift in sometimes when it's called development prospects. Now also when it's called World Bank, so they have now very good community, very good collection of behavioral economists who are working on policy making, right? But when it's called still central bank, I don't know. Mithusan can research about that, whether we have behavioral economists working in or working with central bank. According to my knowledge, maybe still we don't have. We have more, a lot of Keynesian economics rather behavioral economics kind of. So, but now we need to think of these aspects, right? They are the modern aspects. They are the aspects where the world applying. Yeah, we will discuss from this session the essence of that, and then even we can pay your attention for such things. And then six, it's about the global inequality. It says that the global inequality beyond the bottom billion. So here, so we are referring to very good collection of good articles, and even and we are with a very good theme, right? Because this is a continuous problem, inequality, global inequality, and even when it comes to countries like Sri Lanka, we have this problem. So then we'll discuss about that in detail. And then the next topic, a billion hungry people. And it says the economic lives of the poor, where I extracted this from one of very good books. Even in your list, you can see that's the Poor Economics, because this was one book which written by Banerjee and Duflo, who won Nobel for Economics in 2019 for their contribution throughout, we'll say, behavioral development approach. So where they did, of course, rather say in behavioral development. So they did a lot of field experiments regarding poverty development and so on, so on. So then out of their research outputs, they wrote two or more books even. So here I'm focusing two books. One is this book, The Poor Economics. And so these things extracted from there, and we can have more discourse while having more other materials about such problems. And now what I need to say, so most of topics here after topic number 6, even 5, going to be very new things. I mean, fresh topics, right? They are from recent research outputs, recent Nobel Prize winners, recent approaches. So that's a very good venture for you to update yourself with the recent knowledge and to think as a 21st century economist or 21st century policymaker. And then even the 8 dwellers in the jaws of capitalism, tracing root causes of multidimensional poverty in Sri Lanka. So then here we are trying to observe, so then this inequality and even this multidimensional poverty matters referring to Sri Lanka context. So then how this happened in Sri Lanka, and even here I am referring to one of my previous research, which I mean previously just last year I did this study with Samali, one of your previous senior batchmates, and even I am using some findings from that study, even with some other empirical work, some other global write-ups, books, research, and all together we are going to discuss about the Sri Lankan context and development aspects while referring to these problems. And then we have number 9, underdevelopment is a state of mind, the effect of cultural values on economic development. So this is also very important, because now when it comes to Sri Lanka especially, or South Asian countries, and especially Asian culture, could have a lot of cultural values embedded development process. So then even when it comes to underdevelopment, it's also a critical factor. So once you say underdeveloped, so then what's the factor? What's the critical factor? So how our mindset, our culture, thinking pattern, values coming behind us with our own development agendas. So we have discussed this as it is very important topic, and then we'll do it with the 9th week. And then 10th one also really important, especially referring to the Sri Lankan context now. Policies and politics are all of the institutions in development. So we will have very good discussion about how was the role of policies and even the politics when it comes to institutional framework, which even very important in development. And then 11th topic is about the effect of decentralization of power on economic development. Even this referring to Sri Lankan context, because now this basically try to emphasize regional development, right? So because now when it comes to Sri Lanka as a country, so you know, Western province got some biases when it comes to development, even to other practices. So however, so we are referring to this particular matter, and we'll discuss about Sri Lankan experience with some research outcomes and so on. And also going to be a very important discussion. And 12th one says living with shadows, when the informality challenges growth and development. So then it's about informality. Even when it's come to my experience, I got a lot of experience studying shadow economy. So I'm going to share that experience with more global write-ups research as well. So then how this informality will challenge development. And then the next topic, it's about living in end times when the system challenges growth and development. So another interesting topic where I will refer to the book written by Slavoj Zizek, which says living in end times. And so it says how when the system fails, how that will challenge development. So even nowadays, another hot topic, isn't it? That is really important for us to discuss. And then a topic 14 and 15 from under the theme, the good economics for hard times, better answers for bigger problems. So these two from the next book, which I mentioned about that Banerjee and Duflo, is the latest book from them, which of course very important at this stage also, because it says from the topic itself we could see good economics for hard times. So we are in hard times. So then how we could use some recent research outputs, their experiences on development and development problems, and how we could adapt them to Sri Lankan context. So we will try to discuss that throughout a book or this book, and even read some other research work and so on, etc. So this is what this is our content, where we can have a lot of interesting discourses all over the sessions, right? So do you have any concerns, questions, or do you have anything to add? Even I would say now you can see, so I am even prepared to enhance the visual ability of the lectures via online. Now I'm using now, you know, see, you can see, so I need to enhance the visual ability, where I will, of course, I will present like this, where I have a nice camera here, where you can see me clearly. Even hope the audibility and signal strength and all are fine, because earlier we had problems with these things. So then now with this session, it is serious, so I could avoid these problems as well. Yeah, you can enhance the quality of the learning process throughout this system, right? Then the next thing is about assessments. And so assessment says something like this, right? Especially continuous assessments. So you need to, you need to complete or do a field report, right? So I will say what means this soon, and it accommodate 20% from your 40%, and then you have a group presentation which for 10%, and even it says pre-recorded group presentation. I will say more about that as well. And then we have another thing called a new thing. Maybe this is the first time we are going to have something like this: discussion leadership. We are 10% for that as well. Now I will explain what is going on here. First, with the field report. Now, for this 20%, you have to do a field survey, but now I am not going to ask you to go here and there. No, what you have to do, you are going to create your own field within your industry or in your internship area or wherever you are staying. Because we may have students who are not doing internship as well, then you will be staying around university. So then your field going to be that. For other students, your area. So now, for example, if you work somewhere, so as an intern, that is your field. Okay. And then what you could do, so I will give you detailed information later, but you can think, or you can think a bit about this even before I am officially saying you what you need to do. So you have to think of some critical problems which you could observe across the society you are dealing with, right? And then you could assess that problems throughout development prospects, development aspects, or whatever you learn and whatever you read in, and then you could collect data from people around you. So this can be qualitative approach or quantitative approach when it comes to data collection. That's totally fine. I mean, you don't need to collect huge amount of data. Just you need some data. Maybe you may have peer discussions with some of your colleagues, some of your peer interns, some of your seniors, some of your junior employees, and even the other stakeholders, and you will see what kind of issues, problems you observe, and then you have to highlight one problem, and then you will study on that problem while focusing on the things we learn, discuss in this series of lectures, right? So that's a rough idea about what you have to do. I will give very detailed assignment soon. I mean, by third week, I'm going to give you this assignment. Yeah, you can start. So then you can start it, and you can do different things. Maybe even you can do some recordings from your phone, and you can transcribe them into a report, and you may collect some second data from here and there where you work. So likewise, you may get data, and you may apply models, theories, concepts, and you will analyze the problem, a development problem. So development means now you could think the place you are living as the context you are studying development problem, right? So that is what. And then this group presentation means this. Now, once you come up with your report output, and then you are going to express this output to myself and even for a wider audience. But this expression will be go through a group approach. I mean, then individual presentation is not required. And even this is going to be pre-record one. It means this will be more like a documentary kind of presentation, right? So even so later, depends on your problems you are working on. I can create groups, and then you don't need to meet physically, but you all will collect your information from your own, and then finally you all merge them together and create a group video, which is not a typical PowerPoint presentation. It's a pre-recorded video, right? That is what the presentation you will present. What you record your present, what the way you present, it's not a PowerPoint presentation. Maybe you're more free, like I'm discussing here. As you see myself here, likewise, you may present this to your phone camera or wherever. Likewise, and then you will show here and there things and all, and then likewise you may show me or you may present your project findings or your report findings or essence of your report. That's what you will do with this presentation. And then discussion leadership. Now this is also really important. What we have to do now, we have discussions Monday, if I'm correct, 1 to 3, isn't it? 1 to 2 or 3 to 4. Can you remember the time? So it's in the L1 form. I think it's 1 to 2. So just check. And then now during this discussion time, what we'll do is so here so we have a lecturer who will facilitate the discussion. I mean, but what will happen is in these discussions, the whole discussion will lead by you. You are the discussion leader, right? So what is happening here is at the end of each lecture session, like today, so even today I am going to do it. I am going to give you a problem to observe or some notion, some concept, and then you have to find information about that concept. And then you are the person, or maybe a combination of people, and then you have divide responsibility among you through virtual communication, and then you will lead the classroom, right? You will lead the classroom and you will teach us about that particular matter. So then for that you will get this mark. So then it's really necessary then you to attend discussion classes. And also it's not only about attending the discussion class where you are going to be the leader, because then you have to think a bit rationally, even ethically, because we need to support everyone, right? So to be a good leader, discussion leader, so there should be people who are hearing you. So then it means when someone else also becoming a leader, discussion leader, you have to be there to support that person while enhancing the discourse, while engage with the discussion. And then final exam, which is for 60%. So then there's no any this write-ups for your mid-semester exam, so kind of things is not there. So on the final exam will accommodate 60%. Usual formal written exam will accommodate there. So then that is what about course assessments. So do you have any questions, concerns before moving ahead? Is this good?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, right. So so even others feel free to say, right? So your ideas and all. And then the references. So you could see a lot of references. So these are the books. So first, development economics, theory and practice, and then development and underdevelopment. Even the political economy of global inequality, and poor economics. And so these are the couple of books written by Banerjee and Duflo. Both are MIT economists. I think you all know what means MIT. Still the best university in the world, according to rankings and all. And then two books written by themselves. They won Nobel in 2019, and also now these two books will be important for discussions as well. And the living in the end times from Slavoj Zizek, and even necessity evidence from another person. So this person going to be myself, right? So then, so I will refer my own some write-ups as well to discuss some things, some few topics. So even living in end times also a very good book, groundbreaking book you can refer. And then we have this two books as well. The first one also a book which is General Equilibrium, Overlapping Generations Models and Optimal Growth Theory, where it states about this new classical growth theories. And then the World Bank Development Report, the Mind, Society and Behavior, right? So then that's also important material for us. And now the thing is, these all are virtually available for you to read now. So you don't need to go to here and there to library. You don't need to search them here and there, because I upload all 8 materials, which I just show you into the Moodle, and all of them freely available for you to download in PDF version. So then it's just a matter of reading them, right? So then feel free to download them and read them. Start reading them. So yeah, you will learn a lot. It's really important. Okay. And even in addition, so I have more books as well. Now they are not from key references. This is also a really good book, which Donut Economics. So I will try to find the soft copy of this as well. So it says Donut Economics, 7 ways to think like a 21st century economist. So this is also groundbreaking ideas, and even reading it, there's also come with some new ideas to support us to think as a new way, rather depends on all the school economics way of thinking, right? And then there's another book. I put this under key recommendations, but I didn't found the PDF of this book, but I put that another version of overlapping generation models, and this is also overlapping generation economies. So I will refer this even for lectures, but now you have another version, another book, not this one exactly, but so I can share these ideas with you as well throughout our sessions. Right. So that's about our references, and I can see one message. Let me check it. Okay. Right. So then I will go forward, and let's move forward with a video. So now I will play this video, and then we'll move forward with our discussion. Okay. So so if you couldn't hear sound of videos, please let me know, right? Don't wait while thinking there will be no sound. So please let me know if you can't hear the video, but I think I did it correctly. I share sounds.
It's estimated that somebody escapes extreme poverty every 1.2 seconds. According to the World Bank, anyone on less than $1.90 per day is living in extreme poverty, unable to afford basic food, clothing, healthcare. And shelter. Absolute poverty rates have fallen faster in the past 30 years than in any other time on record. This is a remarkable achievement, but the task of taking people out of the worst poverty remains a huge challenge. The impressive fall is the result of changes in just 2 countries, China and India. In the 1980s, the majority of people in both of these countries were living in extreme poverty. But now the share of the poorest has fallen to 21% in India and less than 2% in China. Increased productivity in farms and a mass migration from poor rural areas to the booming cities enabled many Chinese and Indian people to better their lives. Asia is moving into a new phase, but can other parts of the world copy their model of moving people to factory jobs in cities? Today, more than half the world's poorest people live in sub-Saharan Africa. The percentage of the African population living in extreme poverty fell from 54% in 1990 to 41% in 2013. But in that same time period, the population of sub-Saharan Africa boomed, meaning the total number of poor people rose from 276 million to almost 400 million. The population of sub-Saharan Africa is predicted to reach 2 billion by 2050, and a large percentage of those people are likely to be extremely poor. And unlike Asia, a transformation of this region is unlikely to happen soon. Sub-Saharan Africa is urbanizing faster than any other place on Earth. But moving into the cities is not providing the same ladder out of poverty as it did in Asia. A lack of infrastructure, public transport, and essential services in many African cities prevents poor people from finding jobs and getting an education. The rapidly growing population only makes matters worse by putting further strain on resources. Millions of poor people in sub-Saharan Africa live far below the World Bank's threshold of $1.90 per day. That means it'll be harder to pull them out of extreme poverty.
Okay, so that's says a lot, of course, but we'll focus some important facts from that video. Now, first, now so this comparison between global south and global north. I think we discussed a bit about this global south north even in industrial economics very first lesson, right? So now, what means global south and north according to your ideas? Can you remember? What means global south or global north? So now next week where we'll going to discuss this thing in deep, not today. Now when it's come to global north, especially, we have some specific countries or set of regions. So we have Asia and Africa especially, right? So when it's come to Asia, even we have different parts of Asia, but in general in Asia, we have more discussions about India and South Asia. And also we have more discussions about, China, right? And the other hand, when it's come to African, so we have more discussions about sub-Saharan African nations. Now, this video even focus this global north and the extreme poverty problem they are having. Where what they said, when it's come to Asian context, they observe some improvement, isn't it? They observe some improvement. What is that improvement? So they are moving away from extreme poverty. So now they had a measurement, no? So per day, if it is less than $1.9, so that's going to be categorized under extreme poverty, for example. And now I think we discussed about poverty line, poverty headcount ratio, these things in our applied industrial economics lectures. And now, if a person moving above this poverty line, then that person will not consider again under this range. So then, what we can see in Asia is so people moving away from this poverty line. But we have questions like whether the poverty line is inflation adjusted and whether it's a modest calculation likewise. But anyhow, so once people move away from poverty line, move up from the poverty line, so then we'll say usually, okay, so they are moving away from the danger of being extreme poor. So now that is what even this video tried to show at the initial stage, even referring to Sri Lankan and Indian and the Chinese data. And further, they discuss about sub-Saharan African nations and what they said. So they seem like still struggling to move away from this problem, and they are having a lot of extreme poverty issues, right? Now, why these countries? Why we, even Sri Lanka, we are in an extreme problem now, right? So this video was created before this kind of problems. So now we can make a document for Sri Lanka in a serious manner. Then, so why these countries struggling? Why? What's the reason? No, what are the reasons according to your opinion? Just feel free to say your concerns. Hope you all can hear me, right?
So are you asking about the reason for Sri Lanka is struggling nowadays?
Yeah, not only Sri Lanka, yeah. So reason for countries like Sub-Saharan Africa, Sri Lanka, so we'll say Bangladesh, and even nowadays we have some European, Latin American countries even in serious troubles, right? And so why these countries in a struggle for a long period of time? What do you think? So now, once we think of reasons, even now in this Sri Lankan context, you may think of policy, the problem with policies and even political problems and all as well. And so, in general, the global outlook will emphasize on this. So we'll emphasize on this. So it's about wealth gap, right? The wealth gap, because now even I think we discussed a bit about this in our previous lectures, especially in applied industrial economics to some extent. So because now we used to say this, isn't it? The richest 20% of the world population receives more than 80% of global income, and the poorest 60% receives less than 6% of the world income. And even now, if we refer US as an example, in the United States, so they account only for around 5% of the world population, but they get more than 30% of the world output. Now, what they all say, the inequality, right? And especially we call it the wealth gap. So this is one of a key problems behind the key development challenges. So we call it in general one of very important global development challenge, right? And even now, if you think about this seriously, this is a gigantic global development challenge. So how we could tackle it? How we could get rid of this problem? It's not simple, because you see the degree of inequality, right? Anyhow, now what we'll try to do, what means what economists try to do, or what development economists or what other such policymakers attempt to do is, researchers even attempt to do is to find solutions for such problems. And then how we could support, then for example, poor countries to move forward and to be sustained with some fundamental requirements they need to have a good lifestyle for their people. So likewise, we need to think then what kind of strategies we use. We need to do new research to find. And then even it's really important now for us to understand then what means development here, right? So now we have a lot of serious challenges, and then how we could approach development. Now, let me play another video and we'll see how their views try to say things about development, right?
Development is a process.
Development is sharing.
Development is dynamic.
Development is progress.
Development is improvement.
Development is
Okay, so now you see, hope you could hear the sounds of the video, right? Did you hear the voices in the video? And can you hear me, of course?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
What about video? Did you hear the sounds? I mean, earlier when I was playing it?
Yes, sir, sound is
Okay. Okay, great, thanks. Because just to verify whether things work well. And then you see now, so see different people, how they say things about development. That's so dynamic, isn't it? That is so dynamic. Now I will upload this video later into the Moodle, and you will go again through this video and see how dynamic and how variations there when people say about development. Now even you can do a trial while asking about development in your particular place. So go and ask from different people around you in your institution where you're working for. Ask them, okay, what do you think development? Say them to say freely, right? So don't ask them to search in YouTube or wherever and say, no, just ask them what's your opinion about development. So they will say different things. And that is true because that is what exactly development means. So we cannot have, even Mithusan mentioned this at the very beginning when I asked the question about development. So we cannot frame this one. This is not just growth. This is not just improvement of cities or infrastructure. That is more than that, right? This is even, you can see in that video, it's about attitude, it's about a lot of things, right? It's about a lot of things. So then this is really important for us to understand that this development is a dynamic matter, which is highly dynamic and which is highly contested concept, right? So then we have different views, different interpretations on development. And anyhow, then now finally, what development focus is like helping societies or social processes to achieve their desired endpoints, because each society have their objectives. I mean, positive objectives, better objectives. So, for example, everyone needs to live in to have kind of satisfactory lives. Now, when it comes to Sri Lankan experience now, so if you ask from others, are you satisfied about the recent Sri Lankan experience or the way you live? You may think you can understand what they will say, right? Even they may say, what the hell you're asking, you know what's happening anyhow. So see whether people satisfy or not. So anyhow, so then we all have some expectations. We have a endpoint. So then we use this development as a support mechanism, which will support us to move our society forward towards that endpoint, the desired outcome. So that is what. So then it's about improving life in countries, especially poor countries and even in other countries, and to discuss about equality and even to get the best outcome from globalization. And also now, you know, sometimes development also have this Eurocentric perspectives. So initial theories about development are more Eurocentric. It means they are more European type of experience-based ideas. But later there are a lot of we have more other general experience and all. So we have majority of Eurocentric experience-based development ideas, and they are highly related with the concepts like globalization and all. Then now, so what then we'll see is like this development will support us to be positive as a country, as a society, as a social structure, and to face negative consequences, unexpected problems in a better way, and then to achieve our objectives, and then even to get a support system for globalization with this process, with this movement. Now, where along the time, over time, we have different approaches then to define development. Especially here, it's not about definitions, rather it's about theories. So different researchers, economists, philosophers, they attempt to describe what means development in a best way according to themselves, their researchers. So then now when it's from 1950s, so we have some popular development theories like modernization theory and structuralist theory, right? So here we are not going to discuss in detail about these theories separately. We'll discuss these things later, right? And then in 1960s, we have specially discussions about this dependency theory, right? And in 70s, we have basic need approaches, Malthusian, I mean, we call this neo-Malthusian theory especially, and then even the concerns about women in development. And then 1980s, we have this neoliberal concerns, and even this so-called grassroots approach for development, and sustainable development, and gender and development. So on so theories was there. And then even 90s, we have further neoliberalism and especially this neoliberal post-development prospects and that theories. And then even we have theories and ideas about culture and development. So how different social and cultural groups can affect the development process of a country. And then even into 2000 in millennium, we have ideas like sustainable development, post-development, grassroots approaches in different perspectives. And even further now these all are more like classical theses of development, classical theories of development, and then further we can think of new classical theories. So where these new classical theses more converge with growth concerns and then discuss about development. So we'll discuss these things later in detail when it's come to that particular topic. And also later we have this behavioral development approach, as I mentioned to you, right? So likewise, we have then evolution of efforts to express what means development and what is best for development for countries, right? Now, now when it's called development, since it is a complex idea as we discussed, and since it is a kind of multifaceted matter to discuss, we got different types of interpretations for this. Right? So here I will present you some popular interpretations of development, or we can call alternative interpretations of development. One is we consider development as economic growth, right? So then it's like asking whether this output expansion means or seems the best way of improving development. So then measures of our GDP, GNP, so on, so on things, whether that can sustain development, support development process, and whether that means development, right? And even so we can say even there's another approach that say development as modernization. So most of these Western theories, Eurocentric theories, were focusing this aspect, development as modernization, right? So then that says it's more like Eurocentric experience-based approach, and it's about process of social change. Yeah, we need economic advancement, and also we need social, psychological, political advancement, the movement of that processes, and also that is wealth-oriented ecosystem. So it's about wealth generation, wealth improvement, and profit-seeking behavior is really important in this manner. So these kind of factors were there with their concerns of development. And then even we have further interpretation from this perspective. Development as distributive justice, right? Is about then improving fair distribution, providing justice for fair distribution of wealth or whatever across people, across countries. And then they view development as improving basic needs of people, right? So likewise, you see now we have different angles of studying or theorizing development. So then previous evolution, that 90s or 50s, 60s, 70s up to 90s to millennium, these all theories can be put into one of these classifications usually. So these are some aspects. And then even further, so this development got different angles of thinking, different way of thinking as well. Now you can feel free to go through these statements. So start with the first one. You see how some people think of development, right? So according to Professor Cairncross, you can search more about who is Professor Cairncross and his work and all. So that's one of factor that why I am showing different such things, where you can search more using your notional hours about these people and the things they said and all as well. So then according to Professor Cairncross, he said development is impossible if it does not take place in the mind of the people, right? So which is, I think, very valuable for Sri Lanka as well. That's why I want to emphasize it at the first level, at the very top of these ideas. So we can discuss a lot about development. We can use different theories, different concepts, and we can create nice policies. But still, if this is not in our mind, if this is not a part of our mindset, then this will not work, right? So this is really important, especially for countries in South Asia and even in Sub-Saharan Africa, even in Latin American countries. This is very important because this development should go to the mindset, right? Then it's really easy to achieve. You can study Japan and a lot of other examples, how they achieve things, even from the scratch. They achieve things from disasters. But we have countries, nice examples. Now they are developed, very highly qualified countries. People having very good lifestyles. But they were even in a catastrophic situations earlier, but the mentality was there in their mind when they face these issues, when they target their development, right? And also you can see now, referring to Bhutan, even I was, I had the chance to visit Bhutan in a conference. So I visited Bhutan for 5 days. And then during that 5 days, I even noticed that the simplicity of their lives, right? So they are having very simple lifestyle. So it's it's not a good economy like Sri Lanka either. So it's a very simple economy. They have very simple requirements. They have very simple infrastructure, but they live very happily. Their lifestyles are very simple, but they live very happily, right? So because why Bhutan is very popular for this happiness matter, right? So according to King Wangchuk, one of king in Bhutan, 1972, he said gross national happiness is more important than gross national production. See, so they practice it, and they found that is very important for themselves. They focus more toward happiness, and they think that is development, and that works for them. Now, feel free to study these countries and see, and the Sri Lanka, where are we, right? And also then when it comes to development, so we have aspects like this from Kindleberger, Adelman, Dudley, like more output and changes in the technical and institutional arrangements. So it's more technical oriented, production based thing. So that will enhance development. And even say the process whereby the real per capita income increases steadily over long periods. So they all more growth focused things. And also say reduction of poverty and income inequality, as well as the increase of employment opportunities as development. And also according to Midal, an upward movement of the entire social system is developed. Right? So then even you could see these ideas or these statements about development also are diverse, and even we can learn a lot from these diverse ideas. So you could do different case studies about these countries where these authors or these people from, and study their experiences and see. You see different approaches they use, and even they succeed to some extent. That's why they say that is development. So then now the question is, in Sri Lanka, what the approach we are using, for example. So you could search that as well, right? Or at least now we are in a problem. Oh, then can we come up with a good approach for Sri Lanka, at least now, thinking forward throughout a long-term plan. So there are further things that which we will discuss later as well. And then in general, having this all, we can say this development, and especially now here we'll focus economic development, as we have our focus on development is more economic oriented. So this economic development is a multi-dimensional process, okay, involving major changes in social structure, popular attitudes and rational institutions, and also it's about economic growth and also reduction of income inequality, poverty, eradication is all together. So that's a multiple package. So that's what we will see as economic development is. So then I provide you justifications to say why I am saying this is multidimensional matter process. You saw it's from a lot of sources now. And then finally we can say then in general, and it's really important, see, development in its essence must represent moves away from a condition of life widely preserved as unsatisfactory and towards the situation of life regarded as materially and spiritually better. Now, this is what even Sri Lanka requires now, right? So we are in an unsatisfactory situation. So we widely consider now we are in a highly unsatisfactory situation. So then now we need a movement towards a situation of life throughout two lenses, because we need to make it better through material as well as spiritual lenses. And if we make it better through these two lenses, then we can discuss. So we can say, yeah, that is where we are going to reach development. Okay, because it's highly multi-dimensional matter, and even however in our focus objective will be something like that we just discussed. So now what do you think? Do we have more things to add here? Feel free to share your ideas, views about development, or what you think or from your readings about development. Even if you do not agree with anything I am saying here or we are referring here, so that's really great. Feel free to say your view. Feel free to present your criticism. That's really important. Now, even when it's for development, so we can have few more categories. I mean, now we have development theories, right? So now, when we study development as an undergraduate or as an academic, so you can study development theories. That's one way, objective of study development. So you could study development theories, right? That is one goal. So of studying development well. So you study development theories well. So you will understand now these are the theories, and this is the evolution of theories, and there are the problems with theories, and so on and so on. Because the theories are more experience embedded, they come out of different situations, and then later so that's why even we have new theories evolving over time with new experiences. It's better we know this history and even the recent evolutions of theories. And then strategies. And also we need to study development strategies, not only theories, right? So then how practical paths used by different institutions, approaches, maybe World Bank or maybe some other organization, maybe NGO, maybe some other place, so agency. So then how they use different strategies practically to improve development, to improve or to stimulate socio-economic conditions of societies, countries. And for example, earlier we had these Millennium Development Goals, and even now we are having these Sustainable Development Goals. So likewise, we have different strategies. This is just one simple example, right? So we will study such things as well. And then also ideologies. So now theories and ideologies are a bit different, right? So even we have development ideologies, and we will better observe, study such ideologies as well. Okay. Now this ideology will show us or reflect different contextual practices and even ideas. Reflect the social, economic, political, cultural, ethical, moral, religious influences on different objectives in development. So then how these influences generate different ideas, different ideologies. For example, the ideas about fair trade, which had different versions because of different cultural, political, moral, religious versions, right? So then, so we better study these things as these different versions which went through different values. Because when it's called Sri Lankan practice, then we should understand. So then, what's the Sri Lankan version of this? Though we know theories, though we know strategies, if we couldn't identify our version, then even we are in a problem. So that's also then very important to understand ideologies and the essence of these things as well, right? And now, so when it comes to objectives of development, or we call vision of development, so we have few important factors that we will highlight, right? So this is one of very popular way of saying objectives of development or vision of development. So first we start with life sustenance. So what means life sustenance here? It means to increase the availability of whatever requirements to have a better life. So here then basically it says about basic needs at least. So whether we could provide people their basic needs, or whether we can attain basic needs. So that's one factor, that one objective of development, to attain, to achieve, or to gather basic needs for everyone who lives in our country. And then let them to consume, experience basic need without problems, without significant barriers. That is one objective. So nowadays, that is the critical problem we are having in Sri Lankan society in a way. That is one of very critical problems, isn't it? So people are in a serious trouble to attain their basic needs, at least. So then we can see, so our development, which is in which degree, and then we need to focus such important objectives with our new policies or strategies or long-term plans or whatever. And also not only the life sustenance, even self-esteem, to grab or to achieve self-esteem. So what means self-esteem? So now you can see here it says to raise the feeling of self-respected and independence by raising the levels of living of the people. So we improve the standard of life of people, and that will improve the moral, moral respect or self-esteem, self-respect of the people. So everyone have their own moral respect. So we need to acknowledge the self-respect or independence of people. So, but whether it's happening in the societies, especially in underdeveloped countries, that is key question. But achieving this is one of very important objective also, right? So whether our people will live without depends on others. whether will ensure the independence and self-respect of people. So then people will not depend on politicians or whoever. They will have their own self-respect and self-plan as they know they have their basic infrastructure needs. Right. And then the other one is freedom. They not only life basic needs, not only self-esteem and also freedom. So what means freedom here? To expand the range of economic and social choices available for people. Right. So then people may have choices, right? But now, though we know where there are choices, but if they are constrained, if people cannot think of their choices, or if people cannot attain their choices, then there is automatically framing and limiting individuals' freedom to go for their choices, right? So then here freedom means, so then we'll provide choices best as possible for people to move forward, and then they can freely go for their own choice. And then here, these choices will be ethical and good and all that's there. So because this all should serve social welfare and even the benefit of the society. However, because of that, we can frame choices. Rather, we have to make choices available for individuals, right? And then it's like we free them from depend on others through this also. So they have freedom to select or to go for their choices available. Then you see now how strong the idea behind development when it comes to these objectives. This is not just then you clearly now see this is not just then output improvement, right? This is about a massive achievement where we will focus life sustained, self-esteem as well as freedom, right? So when it comes to these concepts like freedom, self-esteem, so we have one of distinguished academic who remarkable in these concerns, whose contribution is remarkable. So who is this? Do you know? Seems like a non-Western person, isn't it? He's an Asian person, and also I would say he's a South Asian person. Do we have anyone who know about this person? Whoever saw this picture? Maybe you heard of name. So I will say more things about him. He won Nobel Prize in 1988 for economic sciences. Sorry, 1998 for economic sciences. Then you all will be very, what's your birthday? Is 1998 or before that? Maybe you just born when he got the Nobel. Or maybe you are just 1, 2, 3 year small kid who is playing in the kindergarten when he got Nobel. So he's Professor Amartya Sen. Do you heard the name? He's the only South Asian or only South Asian economist who won a Nobel in economic sciences. He's an Indian. So who's a well-known development economist who said a lot of things about this freedom, justice, self-esteem and all. And here we have 2 popular books. So he got a lot of more books as well. One is Development as Freedom, right? And also The Idea of Justice. So there are 2 popular books, and he got a lot of more books like this. A lot of research work, a lot of contribution, and Oxford academic, and his contribution is enormous when it comes to development prospect while thinking of freedom, self-esteem, and all. So he studied a lot about Indian version. So then we may learn a lot of things from these books because Sri Lanka means then have a lot of similar values with Indian, and so you can, if you get a chance, so I'm sure that these books are available in the library, but if you could not reach library, so you can try to find these books somewhere and try to read these things. They are really important books to learn about development, right? In a broader perspective. And so in his ideas, now he mentioned this in a different way. So he used the terms like entitlement. So he said, so development means an expansion of entitlement and capabilities. This is what he said. Development means expansion of entitlement and capabilities of a country. So then, now when it's come to more views on entitlement, it means life sustenance and self-esteem, right? So when it's come to capabilities, that's about freedom, right? And so then this entitlement will say basically it's a set of alternative commodity bundles that a person can command in a society using the law authority of rights and obligations that she faces. It like this person got all rights and obligations to consume basic things with their own pride, self pride and esteem and all. So then that is what they call entitlement. So they can achieve basic needs and even their own pride, right? So, so according to him, from his book Development as Freedom, he says development consists of the removal of various types of unfreedoms that leave people little choice and opportunity. So see, so then development means removing unfreedoms we have in the society, and then we'll give additional choice for them, additional opportunity for them. So see, now this even highly applicable for Sri Lankan context, isn't it? Now this is highly applicable for Indian context, of course. Even think of Sri Lanka. Even think of countries who are still struggling to develop. So seems like these things are, of course, lacking in these societies. So we need to remove unfreedoms. We need to improve freedom, and that means then we give more choices and opportunity for people, right? So that seems like important aspect when we think of development with Asian values, when we think of development in South Asian countries. So that's why I will recommend you to read about Amartya Sen, because he got a lot of experience from Indian development problems, practices, and so on. And now with that, if we move forward, we can discuss about indicators of economic development, key parts of economic development or key indicators. So what will reflect economic development? So here we focus economic development, right? So then it's about indicators of economic development. So then once we discuss about economic development of a country, so nowadays we have to think seriously about this now, economic development. So then when we think about economic development, so there are some indicators. So what means indicator? Indicators means what? It means that will reflect economic development, right? So these indicators will reflect economic development. So see, what are the indicators, the key classification of indicators here. So here we got growth. You can see down left, we have growth as an indicator. It means economic growth. And so upright, you have human development index. So we'll discuss about that, human development index as an indicator. And then we have development as an indicator, which is more holistic and normative when it's called just development. So we discuss about that. It's more multi-phase and multi types of multi-dimensional factor concept, since we discussed about development. And then even we have other measures. So we'll see what are the other measures. So then usually these 4 dimensions are the indicators that will say about economic development, that will reflect about economic development. Okay. So then now what we'll do, we'll focus one by one and see what are these indicators. So let's start with growth. Since we know, about growth well. Okay. Now when it's come to growth, so as we know, we will focus basic productions, improvement of our productivity production. So we may think of GDP, GNP, or GNP, GDP per capita. Even we know this real nominal differences and all. So these all we discussed in our previous courses. And then when it's come to economic growth, it means improvement in performances of these particular indexes or in these measurements. Right. So in Sri Lanka, we discuss a lot about GDP growth. That means the economic growth, the way we discuss about economic growth, right? However, now this will be one indicator, of course, economic development, but this is not economic development. Now that we could agree, because now we discuss a lot about development. We know how strong that concept is, how serious that concept is, how wider that concept. When it's got different ideas, ideologies, concepts, objectives, and so on, right? So this is one dimension that we can get some idea about development. However, so why this is not the best dimension to say about development always? Because now when we think of economic growth, even if we go through the standard way of measuring economic growth, so for using GDP, GNP, so we have problems with reliability of data, isn't it? So because we need to question how accurate is the data that is collected. So fairly, I will ask that question. Even you can ask that question. The reliability of data, because we are doing surveys to collect data, especially DCS, Department of Census and Stat, will do major surveys, and central bank will sometimes use that data. Even will do some independent surveys sometimes. Some research firms will do, researchers will do. However, it depends on this data. So accuracy of data will be one question. And even think of other types of economies like illegal economy. Think of informal economy. So these things are not usually accounted. So we'll discuss more about these matters in the separate topic, as we have a separate topic later. Right. So we know the shadow economy also around 40% of our GDP, but which is not accounted in our production. So then we are not accounting it. And also think of quality of life. Now, can changes in economic growth measure changes in quality of life? Now, we have an example below. See, in blue color, what it says: does additional earnings power bring? Now, so if you earn more, so you put more earning power. So you may do your regular job and you will do more additional things and so on to earn more. So then, does additional earnings power bring with its additional stress, increases in working hours, increase health and family problems? So when you do more things, so you may improve your anxiety, stress, and you may get a lot of health problems, family problems. So now that's about quality of life. But now the question is, where are these measurements with the economic growth measures, right? And even distribution of income. Of course, we know these economic growth measures will not say about distribution of income. Even per capita will not say anything about distribution of income. So this inequality will not reflect through such things. So these kind of weaknesses are there. If we think this national income measurements, like GDP, GNP as indicators reflect economic development. So that will say a bit about economic development, but that will not indicate everything about economic development, as we have such problems with this measurement, right? And then we'll focus next about the next dimension, as I highlight, that's Human Development Index. So now this Human Development Index, I don't know whether you learned or discussed about this earlier somewhere, because I didn't discuss this with you in any previous courses, if I'm correct. So when it comes to this Human Development Index, so this came as a remedy for some issues highlighting the growth prospect. So we saw a lot of failures in economic growth prospects, and then Human Development Index try to cover some of that failures to make it more reflective index that we can say things about economic development. So then in human development index, it try to say that we have more socio-economic measures, and also we include non-monetary factors, and even we think of life expectancy, longevity, and even we think of knowledge, literacy rates, and even we think of standard of living through purchasing power parity. So now these are the things we consider under Human Development Index. So this particular index developed by UNDP. So what means UNDP? UNDP means what? Can someone say? UNDP introduced this in 1990, this index at the 21st level. What means UNDP? United Nations. What about other two letters? Just say the acronym United Nations DP for Development Project. Right. So now it's really important for you to search about these things. So search about what means UNDP, what means this United Nations Development Project. So they have their own goals, targets to eradicate poverty, inequality in globally across more than 170 countries. So then they came up with this index that could support to measure the quality of human development according to them. And so now we call this index as a composite measure of averaging indices. So here we got three indices. I mean, indices means three dimensions that will help us to measure human development, human well-being. Right. So what are these three dimensions? I don't know whether this image is clear. So there we have these three dimensions. One is a long and healthy life. A long and healthy life of citizens, people. That is one dimension they use. And the second dimension is knowledge. And the third dimension is a decent standard of living. Right? So long and healthy life, knowledge, and a decent standard of living. So they are the three dimensions they use. And then per each dimension, they develop an indicator. So then this a long and healthy life will reflect through life expectancy at birth. I think we all know what means life expectancy at birth, right? So then life expectancy at birth will reflect the long and healthy life according to their index. And then knowledge will reflect through two dimensions. So here we consider adult literacy rate, and also we consider gross enrollment ratio. So here adult literacy rate we know it's about the literacy rate of adults, and this gross enrollment ratio means GER means enrollment in schooling. Enrollment in schooling. So then this all have different indexes developed from themselves, right? And then this decent standard of living means GDP per capita value. That's the GDP index. So that is the growth concern, GDP concern they use. And with that GDP, the growth concern, they have more other two dimensions, knowledge and a long and healthy life into this Human Development Index. And then now to measure these indicators, they have indexes, right? So from these indexes, they are measuring different versions, I mean different indices, different indicators. So then for life expectancy, they have life expectancy index. For adult literacy rate, they have adult literacy index. And for GER, they have GER index. And then now for knowledge, they develop finally an education index while using these two, adult literacy index and GER index. And then they have GDP index for GDP per capita. And then using these three together, using these three dimension indexes together, finally they develop the Human Development Index. So then they are using these 3 indexes all together in composite manner. So I will show you how they do it to develop this HDI, Human Development Index. That is what going on with this Human Development Index, which UNDP introduced in 1990 to measure human development. So then in this measures, so this is how they, because so now when it's come to measurements, first they established minimum and maximum value for each index, each reflection. Now for life expectancy, they call it in between 25 years and 85 years. That's the minimum maximum range. And for adult literacy, 0 and 100. For that enrollment ratio, it's 0 and 100. So this combined enrollment ratio means finally the calculation of these all gross enrollment ratios. And then for GDP per capita, so where they use, I mean, this real GDP per capita range to calculate the GDP index, the range between $100 and $40,000. So it is the range between 100 and 40,000 per capita income. Right? Minimum 100, highest $40,000. So I think we know what means per capita income, right? Are you okay with that, or do you need to clarify what means this real GDP per capita or PPP? Are you okay with this, or do you need any clarification further? So feel free to say, and even I just need to make sure that you all are here, because I didn't hear any voice so far, as I said a lot.
That part.
Sorry?
That part we are okay, sir.
Oh, okay, no, okay, thank you very much. Right. So then let me move forward. Then I will show you here the formula that they use to calculate indexes. Then for each index, they use this particular formula, the particular approach that you can see, index equal actual x value minus minimum x value divided by maximum x value minus minimum x value. So now we know what means minimum and maximum. Minimum, now for example, if it is come to life expectancy, minimum is 0, maximum is 100. And actual means the value we are considering for this particular society or person or whatever. Right? So then it's like actual value minus minimum value divided by maximum value minus minimum value. So that is how we calculate this index. Okay, that is how we calculate this index. And then now we may have different indexes now. So we saw it earlier. So we have different indexes for different ranges, different dimensions, right? And then what we do for Human Development Index, what we do for HDI or Human Development Index is we are getting 1/3 of each of that indexes together. So it's like now we have 3 indexes all together. Earlier you saw it here, right? Here we have 3 indexes and we combine these 3 together finally to develop HDI. So it means we provide equal weight for all 3 indexes. That's why we put 1/3 each for each 3 dimensions. So then it's like 1/3 weight into life expectancy index plus 1/3 weight into education index plus 1/3 weight into GDP index. So then we consider these 3, these 3 weights. We are giving equal weight. You see 1 3 1 3 1 3 equal weight, where we give equal chance for these all indexes to represent HDI final calculation equal. And then here you see below EI means because when it's come to education index, we used 2 dimensions now. Here up you can see we used adult literacy index in the middle, you can see. We use adult literacy index and GER index both together final to calculate education index. So then, now for this education index, we give 2/3 of weight for adult literacy index and 1/3 weight for schooling enrollment or gross enrollment index. And then with that weight, we calculate education index. And that education index, and then 1/3 of that education index we use in the HDI calculation. Okay, so that is how we calculate this index. Do you get it, or do you have any confusions? Feel free to say. If you have any problems or confusions with the things here, please tell me so I can clear it further. So, assuming you all okay, so I will move forward, but feel free, right? Though I move up front, if you have any problem, please tell me. That's really important, where we could make sure that we understand all things when we go ahead. And then now the question is, what does this HDI, Human Development Index, tell you about the concept of human development? What exactly is saying you? Now here what we will agree is this is broader than economic growth, of course, because we have more things under consideration when it comes to human development index. And also it is multidimensional because we consider different things, but measurable also, that's also good. So we use different dimensions, right? Life expectancy, longevity of life, and knowledge, and even per capita income. So we have different dimensions collected together, even we can measure it. So that seems good, seems nice. And even now the question is, these things like this longevity, health, knowledge, income, outcomes, or inputs. So now these things, whether they are in outcomes or inputs, that's the question. Now, because now this health, better health, achieving good health, achieving better knowledge. So these things, now how we differentiate between whether they are outcomes or input in an index? That's the one question we have. Now, because even now here, when it comes to this human development index, now usually World Bank referring this index, and so with different policy measures, of course, we have references into this HDI, right? And even so institutions have more other dimensional indexes produced later as well for further concerns about development, right? Now even we have more sustainable green things into different measurements on development, and even we have more other dimensions in concern. So however, this human development index will say about some certain enhancement, uplift of citizens, human beings in different nations, societies to some extent, but not to a great extent. However, we can say to some extent, and it is multidimensional and measurable, which is good, where we can show something. But then these things have problems also, because why? Now here also we are not discuss about distribution, inequality. So we don't have any discussion or concern about that. No. Here even we don't have any concerns, any priority given to address the problem of inequality, unequal distribution of wealth or whatever. And also now the way we weight it, giving 1/3 for all, and even when it comes to that education index, giving 2/3 for life, literacy rate, and giving 1/3 for schooling enrollment. So how these things came up? So what's the rationale of having these weights for all over the time to measure human development index for different countries? That is another question. Is it fair to use the same standard, same weight for different countries and so on, different settings, setups, timelines, and so on? And the other one is, now we are finally developing one index, one number, right? So then we are reducing a lot of variables into single number, and this is of course practically a reduction of a lot of information. Because earlier we had different dimensions, different information, and finally we are trying to develop one value, one computation out of this all and a single number. But whether the single number will say a lot about these all dimensions, that's a problem. Because we are losing a lot of information finally to produce one single number. That is another concern, right? So anyhow, finally, what we can say is, so this FDI say things about something about, of course, human development, which is better than economic growth measure. We'll say about human enhancement or the uplift, some uplift or improvements of lives of human beings. But even we saw that the criticism, so which is not great measurement, however better than economic growth, and would say something about economic development better than economic growth, that is good. And now even so we can think of the relationship between the production, I mean this national output or GDPs and HDIs. So they are not matching most of the time sometimes, because you know, these different countries have different setups. Now some countries, for example, this communist and social democratic countries. So now in these countries, though our social status seems better. Now even when it comes to ours, our HDI is very good HDI. Sri Lanka got good HDI in general, comparatively. You can compare this, you can search this data, right? Because we got good life expectancy, we got good, you know, this education enrollment, even literacy rate, we are the highest in literacy rate in South Asia. So then we are getting fairly good index for this. But when it's come to growth, production, so not matching seems like, right? So now kind of such confusions are there when it comes to these indexes and once we compare these things, right? Even this is common for countries like Cuba and Vietnam and some other countries. And then if you think of oil producing nations, so these oil producing nations, their human development index may not good, but their growth, production growth, which is highly advancing, because why? Because they are enriching their assets through selling oil. So then their production is really high. Their GDP growth is remarkable, but their human development means not good. So then we can see this kind of mismatches once we compare human development and GDP. So then it says that it's really good we consider both when we compare things about countries or when we read about countries, right? But both will not even collectively stronger to say everything about development, but that will say a bit about development, economic development of country, right? And even here given Kerala as another example where we have high human development index, but economy is not in a better standard. Even Sri Lanka will be another good example nowadays for such things. But now even our human development index also in a declining manner. So we have to admit that. Okay. So now finally then there's a question, what is that? Can welfare gains be sustained without economic growth then? Now, so we can raise this question even, isn't it, now with this discussion. Now always then economic growth will be not a critical success factor of welfare gains. Because now we see human development index is good for countries who are not very good in economic growth. It means then it's really curious to observe. You can also observe further. Now, whether these countries who are not good in economic gains, though whether they have potential to improve their welfare gains further. For example, even I would say about Bhutan, even I mentioned earlier. So they are concerned on gross national happiness than gross domestic production or whatever. But then further you can observe, study. So then Bhutan is case study throughout that. So then whether they of course doing well in terms of their welfare throughout the so-called gross national happiness concern index. Right? And so then now we discuss about Human Development Index, and then if you go to development, as I said, it's a normative concept. Yeah, we discussed about development through different definitions, approaches earlier through a long session today. And then, so when it's called development, then we have different dimensions, isn't it? Poverty, inequality, progress, sustain, self-esteem, freedom, sustainability, and education. So these all things are component within development. It's multi-dimensional. It's a big thing. Then this whole thing even reflects economic development. Right? So development is a broad thing, and this broad concern, this broad development also an indicator for economic development of a country. Right? Now here what we have to keep in our mind is then development, just development, and economic development also have some differences, isn't it? Development is more further broader one, it's more normative, and then we are getting values from this development to studies on economic development. So economic development is more, I mean, it's bit narrowed than development, where we have more frame structural thing. Development is more normative, further broader, philosophical even. So we are getting some values from there to economic development studies, to study about development in more productive, more practical manner. So then we are not using only growth and things like human development to say everything about economic development. Even we need to consider development, the broad aspect, even to say about economic development. And also we have other measures also. So we have a lot of other measures. So just go through this list and you can add a lot to this as well. Like number of doctors per person, number of fridges per person, number of TVs per person, number of cars per family, disease indicators, right? Economic activity per sector, stress levels, crime levels, healthcare data. So this is all even very important once we think of economic development. That's why we say, so once we consider economic development, so we have to consider all such dimensions, right? We have to consider all such dimensions. So we have to consider then basically starting from economic growth, human development, and also even other measures. So then as a package, having these all dimensions, all indicators, finally we can study or we can reflect what means economic development. So then this is what we are going to study throughout the other 14 sessions. Now we know, hope now you got some kind of idea about development and also economic development and what is this, what we are going to deal with, right? So then that is what we'll address through 14 different sessions later. But this will not say everything about economic development or development. These are selected topics, and this is the initial stage of development economics discussions. However, further, if you're interested of, you can study more, you can read more books. You can read hundreds of books if you need, and you can do more research, and you can be a development economist, theorist, consultancy. You can develop policies, and there's a big job to do if you learn a lot about development economics. And even it's about learning about your country, your economy, so which is very important, knowing things. Because nowadays, the problem with our people is they don't know what is exactly going on. So they don't know how to face this problem, the crisis. Even things are not in their mind. So as Professor Paintross said, so our mindset is not prepared because we don't know anything, right? First, we need to know what is this now, then we can prepare our mindset to achieve proper development goals for the country. Okay, so that is what, of course, I want to say today throughout this introduction while focusing nature and scope. And do we have burning questions? So feel free to ask questions if you have. So till you ask or think of questions, if you have a question, feel free to ask. So I want to declare the discussion leadership Now, because now we have to start that. So next Monday, I think, sorry, the time should be 6 to 7 if I'm correct, right? I think next Monday, 6 to 7, you are going to have your discussion class virtually. And for that discussion class, we need discussion leadership. So this is going to be part of your continuous assessment. I am even visiting this, I am also giving marks, right? So then your continuous assessment is going to start from next week onwards for this course. Okay. So your continuous assessment is going to start next week onwards. So you are getting a mark for attendance also. This is really important. Keep in your mind. Attendance in discussion class also give you a mark, because participation is very important for this session, for this discussion leadership. Right. So then now what the plan is, or each individual in our class, in this group, will get 2 chances to be leader during these 14 sessions. And also I will assess your participation, and so then it's like calculating human development index. I am giving 1/3 for first session, 1/3 for second session, and 1/3 for your attendance for your 10 marks. That is how I am going to develop the index, of course, following human development index for this discussion leadership assessment. So then it's really important, don't lose 1/3 so without joining discussion classes. Right? So please join, that's also very important. So now this is the topic for next discussion class. The first one, Sustainable Development Goals 2030 Agenda. Sustainable Development Goals 2030 Agenda. So this is the topic, and now I need 3 individuals to be discussion leaders. 3 individuals. Oh, we'll start with 2 individuals. We don't need 3 for this topic. Okay. So I need 2 individuals. So now what you 2 need to do is, you 2 will search about and find information about this, and you 2 need to prepare your own. You 2, this is not a group work. Keep it in your mind. Both of you need to first have an initial discussion through a mobile phone or whatever, to differentiate if you are going to have discuss the same thing. So then both of you can differentiate. This is what I am going to say about sustainable development goals, and this is what I am going to say about sustainable development goals in the classroom. And then you have to do your own investigation. So both cannot present the same thing. So then we have 2 leaders. So first, one leader will present the initial part of this topic, and the second leader will present second part of this topic. It's take half an hour each, because we have 1 hour discussion class. It takes 20 hours each per person, 25 minutes we can say. So then finally we can take 10 minutes for discussion, chat, or this virtual questioning or whatever session with the discussion leaders. So I am also going to be there. So I will ask different things. Even the madam will be there. Your discussion and even others will be there, because they need to get some marks for the attendance also. No, so they all will be there in these sessions. So make sure to come up with very good preparation. You will prepare a presentation, maybe few slides, not a big presentation, few slides, some information, and then you will say about Sustainable Development Goals 2030 Agenda. So you are going to deliver the lecture. 2 of you are going to be the discussion leaders for next session. So do we have any volunteers? Because once we go for next topics, you may get, your topics may be a bit serious than this maybe. So the first topic will be better than the next topics. That theory usually applies. So who do we have any volunteer who will do this for next discussion class? We need 2. If anyone think that is you will do it first, so please drop a message here in the chat box. Do we have any volunteer? So you will
Hello,
search.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, I think today also Madam has organized a discussion. I think from 8 onwards. But today I don't know it's possible to do it.
But today is not the usual time. Monday 6 to 7 is the time. Okay.
Yeah, but she asked us different slots, but yeah, then we give this time as well. Then from the, I mean, in the next discussion, no problem. So we will
Okay,
do it
Midhusan.
this
Yeah.
time.
So then Midhusan will be one volunteer for one discussion leader for this Monday, next Monday, right? Not today's one. Today's one you are going to watch a video. So please attend that. There's an interesting video. You can watch it, and then you can discuss about that. Even it's going to be an interesting discussion today as well. So, but this next Monday. So then you will have your discussions on Mondays, right? Not Thursday evening. I mean Thursday evenings later. So then Monday 6 to 7. That's the time. So then Midhusan going to be one discussion leader. And do we have another one? So we need another leader. So if you volunteer, so we can end up session soon as well. So feel free. So I mean, this is a very easy topic than future topics, I would say, to motivate you in a way. So then now, if no one appear, I thought of going with this method. What is method? To start with my dissertation students. So anyhow, Midhusan agreed, and then can one of my other two take the chance? So to initiate this matter, this session.
I think Dilip is also yes.
Sorry, sorry, I didn't hear you, Midhusan. They are not here. Okay. So then let me go to MG 171110. So you are the next discussion leader, right? MG 171110. So then we have recorded it. So then Midhusan and MG 171110. Can you reveal yourself, your name? Okay, please note that Midhusan and MG 171110 are the discussion leaders. So you both will have an initial chat and discuss what you will search and what other. Oh, after you search, you can have discussion and you can separate, because I don't need to have both of you present the same thing, because each one get 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. So prepare for that, and we are looking forward to learn from you. This will be a great time by next starting from next Monday onwards. Okay, and I am going to be the student, so I am a curious student. I will have to say that. So the curious student going to be asked questions when there are things and all also. Okay, so but I am not going to put you in troubles. Anyhow, we'll have discourse. That's really important in our discussion classes, and even you will learn marks. Right. So that is what for today. Midhusan and MG, 1110 will be the discussion leaders. So hope you had a good idea about development, basic notions, and thank you very much for attending the session. And we'll have these sessions like this continuously. So then please attend, and I would say this is a very important course where feel free to attend, and even encourage all others to attend these sessions, and I encourage, I mean, mention others to attend the discussion class for sure, because that's about marks, right? Okay, so thank you very much, and so looking forward to meet you next Monday with the discussion class. Good night.